Hey everyone, my name is Michael Lynn, and I want to thank you for the time today. I want to apologize for not being able to be there in person. I'm stuck here in Chicago at a customer event, and I'm hoping this works. I know we may have some technical challenges, but I'm really grateful for the opportunity to share some information, some experience that I've gained along the way as part of writing my story for the Grapevine. I want to expand the topic just a little bit. It's about telling your story and sharing details of your recovery with others. That's what we're going to talk about today. So for the impatient among you, this is the TLDR, or too long didn't read. Telling your story in AA means speaking at an AA meeting or sharing the story of your recovery, perhaps in written form via the Grapevine. Why would you do this? Well, it's going to help you, no doubt, to write down the story of your recovery and share that with others. But more importantly, it may actually help someone else as well. And that kind of goes back to our purpose: stay sober and help another alcoholic. How do you do it? Well, sometimes you're asked to do it. You're asked to speak at a meeting. Sometimes your sponsor will rope you in to sharing your story. And above all, regardless of how you do it, say yes and do it. What is your story? Well, if you're in recovery, you have a sobriety date. You most likely have a sponsor. Your story includes details of what you were like, what happened to you, and what you are like today. I like to stress the importance of sharing details about you, not just it, what it was like, more about what you were like. That's going to be interesting to readers, and they'll most likely find it more relatable. Some tips for you. Go to speaker meetings. Listen to how others frame and share their story. I found that to be really helpful, and that continues to help me to this day. If you're nervous about sharing at a meeting or writing your story down, consider this. No one really knows your story. Only you know from your perspective what your story is. And there is no perfection. It's about progress. My father told me on the first occasion where I was sharing my story. My father, he died in 2018 with 40 years of sobriety. And about 6 years prior to that, I shared with him that I was going to be speaking at a meeting, and one of the things he said to me might sound a little hurtful at first, but he told me, "You're not that important," and it's really true. So you're not that important. Your story has massive importance to those around you and those in recovery. Sharing your experience can help others, for sure. Consider that you're not doing this for you, really. You're doing it for others. And again, in line with that primary purpose, to stay sober and help other alcoholics. I've also found the set-aside prayer to be absolutely foundational. It can help us set those things that we think we know to the side and have a new experience. Where can you do this? Where can you share your story? Well, the Holy Trinity Church here, we've actually moved to the Ethical Society, but there are literally 1,700 meetings every week in the Philadelphia area. Many of those are speaker meetings. You can practice and share at meetings like this. I recommend to folks that I work with that get out there, experience more meetings, different types of meetings in different areas. You're most likely going to get an invitation to share your story if you continue to visit new meetings and go to speaker meetings. For extra credit, you can write for the Grapevine, and that's what we're going to cover in this section, writing your story for the Grapevine. Who am I? Well, I'm a podcaster. I tell stories for a living. I talk with others. I also, in recovery, I work with the Sepia tech team, help work on the website, I help work on the meeting guide, and I'm a part of the Sunrise Semester home group. Let's talk about writing your story. We'll cover this quickly for the impatient among you. I'll cover why, how, and when you should write your story. For the impatient, the too long didn't read version of this, writing your story is about experience, gathering that experience, seeing it through a different perspective, writing it down and sharing it with others, and doing this continually. It shouldn't just be one time that you share your story. You should think about sharing your story on a regular basis. It's going to change over time. As you continue to stay sober, you're going to have new tips, new experiences to share with others, and this all will lead to growth, which is something that we all want. We all want to continue to grow, right? For those slightly more patient among you, we'll cover this in a little bit more detail. To begin the process of sharing your story, you're going to want to identify and develop a purpose. This is informed by your goals and the ultimate payoff. And this is going to differ for many of us. But as you tell your story, you'll be doing this through the lens of characters. You're going to be one of those characters, of course, but there are more. Next, you're going to want to begin the process. Just begin writing. It's not going to be perfect. I started the process about a year before I ended up finishing the story and sending it to the Grapevine for publication. You're going to want to write, read it, let it sit, read it again, and rewrite it. This process is going to help refine the story. Share your story with others. Tell it to your sponsor. Tell it to those in speaker meetings. Repeat this process, and you will grow. So why would you want to share your story in recovery? Well, I'll share why I wrote my story. Writing my story down helped me organize some very painful events that led to my decision to get sober. I found it easier to write than to talk about it. And in many cases, I was able to talk about it in a different way after I had written it down. Writing things down makes them feel less overwhelming. You kind of get them out on the table, you look at them from a different perspective, you share them with other people, get feedback. It was also an opportunity to construct my own personal narrative about the events that happened leading up to my recovery. Up until then, really, it was only constructed by others giving me feedback about my ways of being or the things bouncing around my head. It also allowed me to challenge false beliefs I held about myself and develop a truer life narrative. I really believe that I'm better today because I looked at the process of recovery through the lens of helping others, and that can help you too. Writing things down enabled me to create something positive, and this helped me build self-esteem. Self-esteem is absolutely critical. We need to begin to feel good about ourselves, and the process, the program, can help us do that by living a different life, living in accordance with a set of principles that we learn in the program. And as you do this, writing things down can help you build self-esteem. So then how? How do you write your story? Well, we'll keep it in the basics. You want to keep it simple. You want to just get a pad and a pencil and begin writing. That's where the whole process begins. If you're going to write for the Grapevine, you can choose a format. You can write a full story in essay format, anywhere from 300 to 1,800 words. Some stories are great written just as one-liners, a series of one-liners, one after the next. I've also seen in the Grapevine the use of cartoons and illustrations, really helpful in telling a story. When you choose a topic, think about how you recovered. How have you changed? Let's emphasize the word you and not it or the. What happened to you? What were you like? And what are you like today? Think about something challenging that you faced and the solution that you found. Tell that story. Talk about what you've overcome to get where you are today. Think about the things that you do on a regular basis to maintain your wellness and recovery. Above all, keep it positive. Again, we're trying to help others. Positive stories do that. When you write a story, you will invariably have characters. You are going to be one of those characters, most likely. But it could also be someone you helped, someone that helped you, or someone that hurt you. Keep it relatable. Know your audience. Think about who's going to be reading this, and what they're going to be thinking. When I wrote my story, I was influenced by Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey. This is anywhere from 8 to 12 step process. It's documented thoroughly. There's a link here to a YouTube video which explains more about Joseph Campbell's Hero's Journey. But it essentially provides the basis for a framework for storytelling. And all of the stories that we as humans love are written using this formula, where the main characters leave their ordinary world. They heed a call to adventure. They enter some special world. They meet some allies. They face some challenges. They discover more about themselves. Perhaps they atone for sins. And then they return stronger, better, with more knowledge, and they share that knowledge. This is a hero's journey. And like I said, it provides the basis for some of the best stories that, as humans, we've heard through our entire lives. To thine own self be true. Your story should be true. It should be about you, about your recovery. It's going to help more people if it's based in fact. Now is time to get to it. Go get that pad of paper, that pen. Maybe pull out your laptop and word processor and begin the process of writing. It's all about experiencing, sharing that experience, and growing through that process. I've found the process of writing my story and sharing it with others to be extremely beneficial to myself. When should you do this? I'd say now. It's time to get busy. People need to hear your story. You've got something unique to share that's going to help others. You can do it after you get sober. You're going to have more to share about after you put down the drink and begin to find a new way to live. You're going to want to talk to your sponsor before, during, and after. Highly recommend getting a sponsor if you don't have one, but also using that sponsor, talking to the sponsor. Most likely they're going to help you in the process of writing down your story and sharing it with others. You may also want to consider talking to a mental health professional. It helped me in the early days of my recovery. After I put down the drink, I dealt with some pretty severe emotions and had trouble placing those just with the program. Talking to a mental health professional was extremely helpful for me. This quote from Julia Cameron: "Writing is medicine. It is an appropriate antidote to injury. It is an appropriate companion for any difficult change." Julia Cameron is the author of fiction and nonfiction. Her best-selling work, The Artist's Way: Walking in This World and Finding Water. Amazing book. Highly recommend it. More information on Writing for the Grapevine is available here at this link, aagrapevine.org. The Grapevine publishes works of different lengths, from snappy one-liners, one-paragraph anecdotes, to 5 or 6 page articles. Suggested manuscript length is 300 to 1800 words, or 3 to 5 double-space type pages. Handwritten manuscripts should be written clearly on one side of the paper. To submit your story, here are some links. You can submit it via a form on the web, you can email it, or you can send it in paper via the mailing address here. I want to thank you for your time today, and once again apologize for not being able to be there in person. Above all, I hope you will consider sharing your story, whether it be at a meeting or via the Grapevine. It can be a powerful, powerful step in improving your recovery and helping others. Thanks once again.